And that's something to give you half a dozen Freeview film recommendations for the weekend, my friend. I know the Premier League's back. I know football is in its entirety returned, but you might still want a bit of downtime. You can record these, watch them at your leisure. They're all on Freeview. And your guide is my mate Van Connor, one of the country's leading film critics, with 3 recommendations. I'm actually 3 with 3 of my own. And Van, I don't know if you've noticed something slightly unusual about this week's selections. I think it was Wim Wenders who wrote in a film, and he got Sam Fuller, the director, to say these lines: "Life is in colour, but black and white's more realistic." This is the first time for ages neither of us has chosen a black and white movie. I think they're all in colour this week. There we go. It's like the modern era's arrived.
That is a rarity for us, isn't it? We finally reached the 21st century. Oh, no, tell a lie. The Artist was released this said, oh, it's also The Lighthouse, now I think about it.
Marvellous stuff. Okay, let's start with your first recommendation, which I'm suspecting is a horror film, Happy Death Day.
Yes, I absolutely love this one. Best described as what happens if you mash together Scream and Groundhog Day. So it's Happy Death Day from 2017. This is directed by Christopher Landon, who did a sequel 2 years after this, and prior to this had done Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, and then follows up both of these with the brilliant Freaky Friday horror spin Freaky with Vince Vaughn, which is worth a look, I do think. This is a sort of darkly tinged horror comedy, like a slasher comedy about a college student named Tree. She's played by Jessica Roth, and on the day of her birthday, she's a college student. She is stalked by what appears to be the college mascot, like a kid in a hoodie wearing like a baby mask, who hunts her down and murders her. And then she wakes up and the day has reset. So kind of Edge of Tomorrow, kind of Groundhog Day, and every single day she gets to relive this all over and over again to try and find a way out of what's happened to her. It's absolutely mental. It's brutal. It's horrific, but it's hilarious at the same time. And it's got a pretty solid and likeable lead in Jessica Ross. She's not your standard sort of final girl. She's got some edge to her, some bite. She's not necessarily the most likeable of horror leads. She's kind of a dark chick. I really like her in this.
Okay, so when can we see this one?
So you can see this on Channel 4 tonight at 10 past midnight. A bit later than I usually like to go, but I think this is one that's absolutely worth staying up for, at least Sky Plusing or whatever. Absolutely.
Set the record. It's Happy Death Day. It's tonight. It's on Channel 4 at the wee small hours of the morning. In fact, tomorrow morning. Here we go.
Look, I know this isn't going to make any sense, but I have already lived through this day. Twice.
Tree,
No, believe me, I know it sounds totally crazy, but this is happening to me, I swear to God.
Tree, I'm sure it feels like you're
Okay, you made me a cupcake. For my birthday, right? You're about to give it to me, and then later on tonight there's a surprise party.
Who told you? Was it back here?
No, nobody told me. That's what I mean. Don't you see? I know what is going to happen before it happens. Lori, somebody's gonna kill me tonight.
I'm liking the sound of that one. Kind of Final Destination spin on Groundhog Day as well. So that's Happy Death Day. That was on, did you say Channel 4 or Film 4?
Channel 4 tonight at 10 past midnight.
Marvellous stuff. Okay, now we go to my first selection, and it's a cracker for me, a Pip and a Peach. It's a bit of an easy get, this one, because it's often on the television. If you've seen it, you know what to expect. You'll probably want to watch it again. If you haven't, you're in for a bit of a treat. 6:45 tonight on Film 4, 6:45 in the evening. Bend It Like Beckham, which is now, unbelievably to me, 21 years old. Introduced the world to Keira Knightley. Also got to make a star of Jonathan Rhys. Parminder Nagra's the lead, of course. She's also had a great career. Directed by Gurinder Chadha, who's made some interesting films since, including Blinded by the Light, about the Asian lad obsessed by Bruce Springsteen in kind of 1980s. Luton. This, though, is undoubtedly her best film. Yeah, I think everyone knows the story. A football obsessed young Asian girl who loves her Asian parents, loves the Asian life, but wants more in that she wants football for girls, goes against the grain and partly against their culture and wants to bend it like Beckham. Comedy, a bit of romance ensues. It's very much of its time, this film, but I don't think people, when I saw it, 21 years ago, I didn't think I'd still be recommending or enjoying it 21 years down the line. It's got often we hear things about a latter-day Ealing comedy. I think this one kind of effortlessly, perhaps unintentionally nailed that feeling.
I think so. You know what the weird thing for me is? I like to think of it as sort of Billy Elliot, but with an Asian girl and football instead of ballet. The other weird thing is the movie is now older than Keira Knightley was when she was in it, strangely enough.
Oh, wow. That is a scary thing. She's great in it. All the supporting actors are kind of great British, from sitcoms, you'll know the faces. So the call is at 7 tonight. It's Bend It Like Beckham on Film 4. What's not to love? Here's a taster of the trailer.
I was married at your age. You don't even want to learn how to cook now.
I'm joining a girls' team.
Hi, Robert.
Let me ask you something. What nice Indian family would want a daughter-in-law who can kick a football all day, but who can't make round chapatis?
No more football.
coming. All I'm saying is there is a reason why Sporty Spice is the only one of them without a fella.
What is wrong with you, Jess? Hey, you're quite pretty, you know. Do something with your hair and put a bit of makeup on. You look all right. Ah!
Whoops. Times people said that to me, Paul, put some makeup on and do something with your hair, you look all right. And our Harrow Jack, producer, Alexander, just told me that it's interesting I mentioned Ealing Comedies, because largely it was filmed in Hayes, just beyond Ealing, down there in West London, or west of West London, and you can quite clearly see Ealing Stadium in the background in some shots. So there we go, a bit of football West London trivia. That's my first recommendation. What's your second recommendation for us, Van?
So my second recommendation, this was one of my favourite movies of 2018. I know you've not seen this one. I can't recommend highly enough that you watch this one, Paul. You would love this. So it's called Overlord from 2018. It's directed by Julius Avery, who recently gave us The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe, which I've yet to see. I hear he's got an appalling accent in it. I can't wait. And this stars Wyatt Russell, so son of Kurt, in a movie that's weirdly like an homage to John Carpenter's The Thing, that starred his dad.
Yep.
It's set during World War II. It was originally pitched as the fourth movie of the Cloverfield series, but then was sort of like, you know, announced to not be at the last minute. It takes its title from the original Allied code name for the Battle of Normandy. And it centres around the sort of the covert team who are sent in the night before Normandy to take out the radio facilities and all the radar installations so that the Battle of Normandy can take place. However, they quickly discover that all is not quite right in the small town where the Nazis have their installation, and the Nazis do in fact have a secret facility where they have been breeding zombies. And yeah, as you can imagine, violent Carpenterian chaos ensues. It's absolute carnage. I love this movie. It's on Film 4 Saturday nights at 11:35. It is an absolute hooker. Like I say, you would absolutely love this, Paul. So many shades of Carpenter, so many like homages to The Thing, movies like that. Absolute crack. There's a brilliant sequence in which you see Wyatt Russell like freezing, looking exactly like his dad in The Thing, and it's absolutely breathtaking. I've got a clip for you. This is a pair of the soldiers coming in to report the zombies to their rather skeptical fellow soldiers.
To misquote Jerry Maguire, you had me at Nazis breeding mutant super zombies. Here's that clip.
What happened here?
I found him inside the church.
Crowds grabbed me as soon as I hit the ground.
Inside the church? How did you get inside the church? Dead bodies. Slow down. Slow listen to me.
They're doing experiments on them. They're doing experiments on the villagers.
What?
Just like her aunt. They're burning people with these flamethrowers, and they're still moving the bodies. Cocoon things in there.
Did you get eyes on the tower compound?
She doesn't have a body, and she's still talking. And I saw Roosevelt.
Voice. Did you get eyes on the tower compound?
The tower base, is below the ground. But there's more than that down here, okay?
And I've got a bit of a Russell family collection for you. But I do wonder, though, if Wyatt Russell was named after the Wyatt Earp character, of course, the real-life Wyatt Earp that Kurt played in Tombstone in 1993. If the dates tally, it must be that, must it? Now, my second recommendation is another belter. It's on ITV1 tomorrow afternoon. Another fantastic feel-good film. One of the great feel-good films, I would say, of the 80s. That was a decade that also gave us Tom Hanks in Turner and Hooch. This is Tom Hanks, though, in Big, from 1988. We all know the story. We've seen it many times in various guises, Vice Versa, Freaky Friday, when poor put-upon young lad goes to a fairground, puts his dime or quarter on whatever and wishes he was big, and Zoltan the Mystic answers that call, and he becomes Tom Hanks in his most charming role. I mean, he absolutely gets the body language right of an 11-year-old boy. He gets the kind of curiosity about the world. He gets that fear of, but fascination with goals. I've still got it. Absolutely bang on. A lovely film. Great musical sequences while they dance on the giant piano in the toys. So it's lovely. It's 3:05, Saturday afternoon. It is Big from 1988. I mean, who do you know a single person, Van, who's ever said, I don't like this film. Oh, not Big. I can't bear it. Has anybody ever said that in your company?
Do you know what? This movie is so universally loved. I'll tell you this for a fact. My dad, who's an Egyptian man, his best friend, when I was a kid, we went to Egypt. I met his best friend for the first time. I was about 8 or 9 years old. The man barely spoke English. We watched Big and he wept. That's how good Big is.
It's brilliant. It's Bigger Than Big. It's on ITV Saturday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, 3:05. Here we go. Big.
I turned into a grown-up, Mom. I made this wish on a machine, and it turned me into a grown-up.
So now what?
You get a job.
Cannot get a job. I play with all of this stuff, and then I tell them what I think.
And they pay you for that? Sucker!
Vice President, he's only been here a week.
See that girl over there in the red? She'll wrap her legs around you so tight you'll be begging for mercy.
Well, I'll stay away from her then.
I'll stay away from her. There's so many great lines in that film. That's my second recommendation, which is on tomorrow afternoon, 3:05 on ITV1. And now the Russell family connection continues. You've heard of Wyatt Russell in that great film sounding from Overlord. I've got Kurt Russell, his dad, in one of his finest roles. John Carpenter directed it, conceived it as well. Ernest Borgnine's in it, so of course you've got to love it. It's Escape from New York. Kurt Russell, Snake Blixen, I think his name is, has to go on to the Island of Manhattan, which has been turned into one gigantic version of Alcatraz meets Devil's Island, because the president's plane has crash landed there, and guess what? They want him back to the USA. Something's changed over the decades. So we've got Escape from New York. It's on Film 4. It's on very much in the wee small hours of Sunday morning. So it's on 1:45 a.m. It just can't bear. You'll probably be heading for bed from Saturday. Stick on the record. Watch Escape from New York, even if you, because it's a belter. I mean, it's a shame about Escape from Los Angeles. Couldn't quite deliver on I had such high hopes for it, so nothing could probably live up to it. But this, I think, is one of those absolutely. It's John Carpenter. I think it is science fiction meets action film best. Don't you think it's one? I can almost imagine this film having been directed but not been bettered by Sam Peckinpah.
Well, there is sort of a third one for this, because there is a movie in existence that began, and it's by John Carpenter, but it began life as Escape from Mars, and it was intended to be the third one. And that movie is the much lamented Ghosts of Mars, which stars Jason Statham, was it Natasha Henstridge and Ice Cube, and that was the third in the Escape from trilogy, but somewhere along the line they decided it wasn't going to work, and they retooled it. So there sort of is a third one of these. I like the second, but it's not a particularly good movie. It's likable just for how good and how fun Kurt Russell is as Snake, call me Snake, Plissken really is. I mean, he is one of the iconic anti-heroes.
Absolutely fantastic. There's Escape from New York. It's on in the wee small hours of Sunday morning, 1:45 a.m. from 1981. Here's the trailer.
1988. The crime rate in the United States rises 400%. 1991. The United States Police Force is formed. 1997. New York City is a walled maximum security prison. John Carpenter's Escape from New York.
I love the fact that it goes from, the film was released in 81, it goes to 88, and then within 10 years, the island of New York is a maximum security prison. That escalated quickly, did it not, back in those days? What have you got for us as your final recommendation and choice for the weekend, man?
Well, you brought Hanks to the table, so I'm going to keep him there. And do you know what? I'm going to give a bit of lore for you. I'm going to test you with a bit of trivia now.
Go on.
There have been two actors in the history of cinema who have won consecutive Best Actor Oscars, like won Best Actor 2 years in a row. Tom Hanks is the second one of those, and this film I'm about to recommend is the first one of the movies he did. Do you know who the first actor to win consecutive Best Actor Oscars was? I figure you might know.
I want to say the long-forgotten Paul Muni. Is it Paul Muni?
It is not. It is Spencer Tracy.
Spencer Tracy. Wow.
For I think it's Captains Courageous and Boys Town in 37 and 38. Hanks will then go on, I think 55 years later, to win consecutive Best Actor Oscars for Philadelphia, the film I'm about to talk about, and the even better, in my opinion, and much maligned, can't understand it, Forrest Gump, which is an all-timer. But we're going to talk about Philadelphia, directed by Jonathan Demme. This came out in 93. Also stars Denzel, also stars Antonio Banderas. There's a murderer's row of that guys who appear in this movie, and it's the very moving, just absolutely heart-wrenching drama that centers around a gay lawyer who, set in Philadelphia, obviously, hence the clever title, who is fired, who's let go from his law firm when the senior partners discover that he has AIDS. And he uses literally his dying months to basically, make his case, to stake his claim, to fight for the cause. He takes them to court and he sues them for wrongful dismissal, and he uses as his defense Denzel, who has previously been his opposing counsel, who's actually quite a bigoted and homophobic guy. And along the way you get Denzel questioning his own belief, learning to, accept the gay community. And it's really moving story. I get choked up just thinking about it, actually. There's so many scenes in this that you're just like, oh God, that was the moment that killed me. And then you remember another, like, no, that's the moment I cried. And It's an absolute banger. Brilliant theme song. I think is it by Bruce Springsteen?
It won in the Oscar, of course, didn't it? In fact, he was nominated again for the theme song from The Wrestler, which he wrote at the request of Mickey Rourke, which should have won the Oscar and didn't, but he got it for Philadelphia. He talks in his autobiography how his dad, who he always had a question, a difficult relationship with, and he'd say his dad said, "You're not doing a proper job, you've not achieved anything," even though he's one of the biggest stars in the world. When he won the Oscar, he drove all the way, apparently, from Los Angeles with the Oscar to his dad and put it on the kitchen table, and they kind of bonded over the Oscar, which is a cheery, juicy story as well, is it? Not this time of the morning.
I'll be really honest, I have a very similar father, and I would do the exact same, although I think it'd be a bit more aggressive. So you can see Philadelphia on Sunday, because it's not like a seriously like gritty movie. You can see this at 6:35 on Great Movies, and it's a really wonderful movie. It's one of those that you watch now and you think, oh, we have made some progress, like culturally, societally, we have made some progress, but it's fascinating to watch a movie that's set only 30 years ago and see how attitudes have changed in just 3 decades. And at the centre of it all is just this absolutely magnetic, wonderful performance from Hanks. And it's a performance that you look at and you just think instantly, I'm glad he won the Oscar, because if I didn't know that he had, I would want him to. Brilliant movie. I've got a clip for you. This is Hanks and Denzel in Philadelphia.
And make sure you catch Van Connor and his pal Adam on the Off-Screen podcast, which is dropping at about 8 o'clock this morning, I think. Always a fantastic listen. Here you go, though. Philadelphia, which is on Sunday, and it's a cracker.
I don't buy it, Counselor.
That's very disappointing.
I don't see a case.
I have a case. If you don't want it for personal reasons.
Thank you, that's correct. I don't.
Well, thank you for your time, Counselor.
Huge thanks to Van Connor for his recommendations. More from us after this. We're live till 5 on talkSPORT and talkRADIO.